this morning I had a job interview just basically from coming to these nights, so if anyone's on your first night, I would recommend coming here because it's good for networking and also building knowledge, especially from the organisers. So this was yesterday, so so I have busy 2 days, so graduating, interviewing, never thought. So I'm a graduate, but I do have a job at the moment, but if you look at the description of the job, it's something that probably resonates with people in here. Empathy, communication, but this is from being a support worker, so I look after people with complex behaviours, and I'm just going to speak about how that led me into studying UX. So this is the course that I've just finished. Some of you might be familiar with the university. I'm not getting any commission from them for promoting it, but I told them I'd give them some good feedback. So if you're maybe in a situation where you don't know what you want to do, I would recommend doing this course. So I was from a graphic design background, but when I combined that with my empathy and support work, then I started looking into UX design and what it really means, and some of the modules that are underlined are the ones I'll speak about. So this was a module I would say that turned me towards being maybe a graphic designer, more a creative, towards more of a passion for UX. So in user psychology you study these different modules, and these are attention economy and synesthesia. So I found these quite interesting because the guy I support, he's got autism, and it's kind of like what you were saying about the brain being in a different channel. I really don't know what he's thinking of at the time, but it would fascinate me to see it. So that kind of got my interest in thinking more about what people with accessible needs are thinking, and a bit deeper behind what's actually going on in people's thoughts. So this led into the next module, so everything's kind of in an order where it leads into the next thing. So UI UX, this is the module I was this is why I joined the course, to be honest, and it's very good the experience you get because the BBC came in, and this is the challenge that they gave us. So you could maybe have a think about how you would approach this. I'm not going to go through the entire project, but I'll just kind of condense it into a quick run through. So this is some of the research I did. So Gen Z are basically dropping off from using the BBC, and they see that as a threat to their existence, basically. So Gen Z's a demographic I don't really have any frequent contact with, so I had to kind of read into their pain points and their needs and goals. So as I've highlighted here, they enjoy being connected, and obviously there's growing costs and stuff, so they can't always attend live events. So I thought about how could you connect them to an event run by the BBC even if they're not there. So I had a video to show here, but I'm just going to condense it to some screenshots. I know I've kind of skipped my process a little bit, but I just want to show everything I've done. So I did the Euro 2024 as the event, but if you look here, you can see offered the user all events, so Tour de France, Wimbledon, and my decisions here were kind of based off of popular apps like Instagram for the story feature, just for Miller's Law, so the user would be familiar with products they already use. And I've just got it's a chat function when the event's on, so it's kind of like what YouTube do. But if you look at YouTube's chat, it can become oversaturated with comments. So my idea was you create your own chat, maybe with you and 2 of your friends or your family, and you discuss the event while watching it at the same time. So that was for the Euros, and also this generation are like always connected, so I created like a VR setup with the experience the event, maybe like watching the crowd to feel like you're there, to kind of get the atmosphere. Let's cut off. So then we stopped for summer, and I was chosen to go to Slovakia to do an exchange project. So it started like this, and by the end of the week it ended up like this. This is my lecturer buying beer and Lidl and me going into cold water. So this trip was quite interesting because it was like a bit of a failure, but it taught me that the design maturity in different countries varies. So like if I go back here, this is like my lecturer going on about the double diamond. I'm sure some of you know him and he's always talking about it. But this was like product design students from Slovakia, and they didn't have any process. So they just basically made products, but they didn't know what double diamond was. And we were a bit surprised by that, so I feel that they learned from us. In the end, it didn't really materialise to success, but I found it quite interesting to see how different countries approach like UX. So just going to jump into fourth year now. So this is like the big year. Obviously, you pick your subject, the honours project. So mine was around cold water immersion, obviously one of my hobbies. So it's like a growing trend. I don't know if anyone's tried it before, or it's normally a complete no. But so the reason I chose this was it's like there's a lot of wellness trends at the moment, and I thought, how could UX help educate and motivate people to do it so they get the maximum benefits? So this is like taken from my dissertation. So my dissertation focused on, does it actually help you, and highlighting some of the risks. So if you look at this, like there's a lot of accidents in Scotland around cold water immersion. So as this reference says, in an area of growing wellness trends, it's important to understand them. So I contacted like users of various apps like Strava and Duolingo, and apps that push people to do difficult things. I didn't really mention cold water because I didn't want to scare them away, but you can see I got quite good feedback, and they highlighted some of the things that brings them back to the product. So like daily streaks or progress tracking were popular, so I carried this information forward. And then I spoke to a focus group who take part in cold water immersion, and basically said to them, do you use any platforms, do you know about risks, and what keeps you doing it? So the answers at the bottom is what keeps them doing it and what they would maybe like to see. So the community, social, peers, these words were appearing more, so I thought, okay, they do it because it's a social thing. So again, my dissertation looked at how you could drive a user through UX to do this difficult thing like cold water, but it could have been about anything really, I guess. So I looked at the hook model, daily streaks, gamification, and also social motivation. So someone maybe going for a run and they get like respect from their friends, so that was like a section of my dissertation as well. So this is like post-dissertation, but if you look at the date here, last Sunday, Strava released the gamified streak thing that Duolingo did. So it shows gamification is more relevant than ever at the moment. So they basically want people to run every day, and they're using UX to do it. So Strava and Duolingo, as I said, they were the prominent apps. So I did like a heuristic markup on them based off the 10 usability heuristics, and thought about what they do well and what they could maybe do better. And just a wee insight into my process for moving forward. Followed the double diamond process and looked at like Kano and Moscow prioritisation, and just trying to identify like user needs for whether they're a cold water like enthusiast or a newbie to it. So I did some user testing on like a prototype, just kind of lo-fi, thanks to Craig there, he was one of the participants, and got feedback and kind of moved forward with it. So I came up with this brand here, cold, which is the Scots word for cold. That was inspired by Strava, which is another non-English word. So the colour scheme here is based off the colour psychology thing that I learned in third year. So like green is for a positive action, red's for negative, and the blue is to try and build a bit of trust. The brand's kind of inspired by other sport kind of brands, like smartwatches and stuff, and I did like the accessibility checks on colours. So once I developed code a little bit more in terms of like high fidelity prototypes, I did the usability test with the focus group again, and they said, yeah, I could maybe see this helping me pursue my code. So I was just going to show like a little user journey here of like how a user would educate and maybe motivate themselves. This isn't on the screen, I thought it was going to be. I meant to show a bit more there, but it didn't work for some reason. But so I just raised awareness around this trend, which is obviously growing. I can hear like companies using cold water to sell products now, like Barclaycard are using it to say that people can get like a credit card to buy cold plunges. So the potential for growth of like social communities or cold water tourism. So people can maybe come to Scotland and go to different locations and cold water immerse the same way people do in Scandinavian countries. And promoted the potential of digital design and having like a positive impact on life quality. So whether it is learning a language or going for a run or cold water, like UX can help people do things and give them small wins, which is what I learned from support work, is like small wins are important to people. And it highlights some of the most effective techniques, so like gamification, social motivation for me are like some of the most popular UX techniques. So I'll just end on the video of the app.
You're in. The cold is intense, and so are you. Every second you stay, you're building mental armor. Breathe through it.
Thanks to the focus group for being in that video then. So thank you.